The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privileges of the floor will kindly retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will rise and be read in prayer by the Reverend Dr. John William Turner, St. James Presbyterian Church, King William. Reverend Turner, welcome. Yes.
Let us pray. Creator God, source of truth, source of life, you spoke the world and everything in it into being, saying, "Let there be light, let there be heavens, seas, mountains, and valleys." Your word is action. Bless all the individuals, families, and communities represented here. May the words spoken here today that become action support truth, justice, and equality. May they support learning, creativity, and the environment. And may they foster love of neighbor, country, and commonwealth. Bless this place we call Virginia. Bless us all, and bless us kindly. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will call the roll. All those present will please vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Thursday, February 16th, 2017.
The senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Morrison, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the House of Delegates. The senator from James City County.
Good morning, Mr. President. I hope you're having a pleasant day, but I would respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communications from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The reading of the communications is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The time has come to recognize visitors to our gallery and take up other matters for the morning hour. The senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
This morning in the gallery, we have Mrs. Patricia Smith. She is the wife of the late Robert Worthington Nunnally Smith, affectionately known as Wirt Smith. She is accompanied by several members of her family. Wirt was a respected civic leader in Petersburg, active in the Jaycees, United Way of Southside Virginia, Tri-Cities Forum, and the local Chamber of Commerce. He also helped found the Petersburg Sports Hall of Fame. Wirt loved his community, church, friends, family, and the University of Virginia basketball, and he was a devoted member of St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Petersburg. Wirt will be fondly remembered and greatly missed by his wife, Patricia, their children, Susan, Robert, and Ann, and their families, and many other relatives and friends from across the region who will cherish his memories and the stories he left behind. Earlier this session, the gentlewoman from Petersburg, the Honorable Delegate LaCherice Aird, introduced House Resolution 320, which passed to celebrate the life of Wirt Smith. But Mr. President, I'm proud to have them in our chambers, and I would ask that we give Mrs. Patricia Smith and members of her family the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would Mrs. Patricia Smith and your family please rise? Well, thank you all so much for being with us this morning, and we're sorry for your loss, and it sounded like he had such tremendous accomplishments, and we certainly appreciate that. So we wish all of you all the best. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Ms. Patricia Smith and her family the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. With us in the gallery today are some friends of mine, and on behalf of Senator Eben, whose district they live in Alexandria, I'd like to welcome Greg and Stephanie Luce. Greg is a former UVA grad and a Richmond Law School grad and former Assistant Attorney General here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Currently, he's a partner with Skadden Arps in Washington, D.C., and a healthcare specialist who I believe has crossed swords with my seatmate, the gentleman from Southern Fairfax, a time or two. Stephanie is from Nevada, a state most recently entered into the Union, and she was a clinical lab scientist before transitioning to healthcare in Northern California. They have 5 children, 5 grandchildren, and they are accompanied today by a random constituent from my district, and I'd like if you could give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Well, thank you, Senator Marsden. Would Stephanie and Greg Luce and also Miss Julie Marsden please rise? Well, thank you all for visiting with us this morning, and Julie, it's always good seeing you. Appreciate you being here and escorting your friends from up in Northern Virginia, and we hope you have a wonderful stay here today. So I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Stephanie and Greg Luce and Miss Julie Marsden the warm welcome of the Senate. The Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction, sir.
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If you would be so kind to extend a very warm welcome from the Senate of Virginia to the Reverend Dr. John William Turner, who was kind enough to start off our morning with an invocation. And as we listen to him deliver his remarks, I think it's very apparent that he has a very powerful voice on behalf of the St. James Presbyterian Church in King William County.
Thank you, Senator. Would the Reverend Dr. John William Turner please rise? Reverend Turner, thank you so much for joining us this morning and getting us off on a good start. And I know you've been here before. We always look forward to having you visit, and wish you will come back many times in the future, and hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering the Reverend Dr. John William Turner the warm welcome of the Senate. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but Mr. John Garrett, will you please rise? Thank you so much for returning, and I know all of you remember the great work that John Garrett has done, and it's always great to have you back in the Senate, and we appreciate all that you've done for the Commonwealth. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Mr. John Garrett the warm welcome of the Senate. And if there are other guests that I haven't recognized, we welcome you as well, and thanks for being with us this morning. Is there any other business for the morning hour? The clerk will please call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Friday, February the 17th, 2017. Page 4, unfinished business House. House Bill 1536, the House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 1675, the House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 1747. The House has rejected the Senate amendment.
The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our amendment and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its amendment and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 1852. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 2282. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our substitute and request a committee of conference.
The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 1251 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Southern Fairfax County, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that we concur with House substitute, but recommend that we vote no on the motion. And speaking to that just very briefly,
Senator,
there was a one-word error in the bill, so we have to fix it. So,
thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1154 has passed the House with a substitute with amendment.
The senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the House amendments.
If you could speak to that, Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you look, they're scribing the English language for us. These are technical in nature, and I ask the bill be move forward.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute and amendment.
Senate Bill 1160 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask that we concur with the House amendment. Speaking to those.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, they didn't like the ratio of 1 to 1, and the House decided to change that to 2 members of the House and 1 member of the Senate serving on this board. And I don't want to have that kind of fight anymore with them, so I'd ask that we just concur.
All right, thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 1202 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Accomack County, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, the amendment to 1202 adds a comma, so I'd ask that we accept the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 1.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1296 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accept the House amendment and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. This bill had to do with the meals tax referenda and how often such a referenda could be placed on the ballot. And what the House did was make it more narrow and make it apply only to when it was put forward by the Board of Supervisors and not when it was done by petition by the voters. So I would ask that we accept that amendment and make it more narrowly drawn. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur?
Mr. President?
The senator from Alexandria.
Would the senator from Valkyrie yield for a question?
Would the senator yield?
I'm happy to yield.
She yields, Senator.
Just so I understand, the amendment will make it so that, can you just repeat that one more time?
Certainly. So as the bill was introduced, it would apply in any case that a meals tax referenda was introduced. And there are a number of ways that that can happen. It can be by petition from the voters who actually circulate petitions, or it can be as put forward by the Board of Supervisors. And in the discussion in committee, one of the issues that was raised was that it seemed rather undemocratic that if enough voters themselves, enough members of the public came forward and circulated petitions, that perhaps given that that's such a high threshold that we wouldn't want to restrict it in that case. That maybe we wanted to restrict it if it was only an act of the Board of Supervisors, that we didn't wish them to be able to come back year after year after year and put forward such a referenda. So we restricted it to only in the case of the Board of Supervisors moving year after year.
I thank the gentlewoman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senators. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1300 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we also accept the House substitute in speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In this case, the House added language to clarify that payment out of the fund would be based on first come, first served, so that there would be no requirement to pay beyond money that was in the fund. And so with that, I would ask that we accept the House substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 15.
Ayes 25, noes 15. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 1312 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would respectfully request that we concur with the House recommendation, but with the recommendation that we reject it, sir.
Thank you, Senator. If you could just speak to that briefly.
Yes, sir. This is the conflict of interest bill, and we are still working out one or two little disagreements. Not disagreements, one or two difference of opinions on some of the issues on the conflict of interest bill. I don't think that they are terribly substantive, but I would like to address them, so would like to put it in conference, sir.
Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1322 has passed the House with amendment.
The senator from Grayson County, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we concur with the House amendment and speaking to that amendment.
The senator has the floor.
The amendment, Mr. President, this is dealing with the Public-Private Transportation Act and basically bringing into conformity of what they've learned over the past year when it comes to the agreements that they came into on I-66. This amendment would exclude any act that applies to what they've already entered into. For example, the area from through Stafford that's already been agreed to, this excludes that from it, and I'd ask that we pass that amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Senate Bill 1415 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the Senate reject the substitute from the House and ask for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. If you could just give us a very brief...
Yes, sir. What it is that the original bill had that the appointments are appointed by the pleasure of the governor, and the substitute removes who should be appointed by the governor.
I got it. Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 39.
Ayes 0, noes 39. The substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 1561 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Mr. President, could that pass by temporarily?
That without objection, Senate Bill 1561 will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 856, the House insists on its amendments and requests a committee of conference.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate accede to the House request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 856 as named by the Chairman of Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources, Senator Stewart, are Senators Hanger, Suderline, and Mason. Senate Bill 899, the House insisted on its substitute and request a committee of conference.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteffe.
Mr. President, I request we accede to the Committee on Conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 899 is named by the Chair of Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources, Senator Stewart, are Senators DeSteffe, Suderline, and McClellan. Senate Bill 907. The House insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Mr. President, I move that we accede to the House's request for a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 907 is named by the Chairman of Education and Health, Senator Newman, are Senators Surville, Saslaw, and Peake. We are awaiting House action on the remaining bills. Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that all the House bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all House bills on pages 12 through 32, including House Bill 1582 through House Bill 2469, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. If any senator desires to remove a House bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 12 through 32, House Bill 1532 through House Bill 2469, be placed upon their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the number of the bills.
House Bill 1532, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 2037, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 1396, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1457, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1461, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1485, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the Courts of Justice substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move the Finance Committee amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1486, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1570, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1597, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1616, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move the Courts of Justice substitute.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1686, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1729, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1730, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 1768, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1797, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1815, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance.
The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move the substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1820, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1838, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1856, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move that we reject, or move that the court's substitute be agreed to with a recommendation that it be rejected.
Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate agree to the substitute? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move the Finance Committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? The senator from Arlington.
Mr. President, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I would just ask that the bill be removed from the block and go by for the day, and we can do that after we adopt the substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. Without objection, House Bill 1856 will come out of the block and by for the day.
House Bill 1912, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 1933, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 1936, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1958, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1970, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1973, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendment.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to you, and I now move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1977, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1994, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2003, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2067, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendment.
The senator from Franklin County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 2074, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2144, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2152, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2154, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2179, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 2243, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2247, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2251, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would ask that that bill be removed from the block and passed by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 2251 will come out of the block and by for the day.
Page 27, House Bill 2296, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment from rules be accepted.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments from the rules be accepted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. The senator from Hanover.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments from finance be accepted.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment from finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 2313, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2348, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance.
The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
Bill 2359, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance.
The senator from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2364, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 2397, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 2410, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the court's substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 2415, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 2436, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 2442, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2449, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendments.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the committee amendments from local government be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 2464, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2469, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President.
Yes, the senator, junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On page 15, could House Bill 1616 come out of the block and by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1616 will come out of the block and by for the day.
Mr. President.
Yes, the senator from Bedford.
Mr. President, returning to page 12, could House Bill 2037 go out of the block and go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 2037 will come out of the block and by for the day. The question is, shall the House bills pass in block? That is, all bills except for House Bill 1616, 2037, 1856, and 2251. All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass. The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Sorry, I couldn't make my mic work. Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side by which we agreed to accept the House substitute to Senate Bill 1300, which is on page 7 of the calendar, I would like to ask that that please be reconsidered.
Thank you, Senator.
So that someone may vote correctly.
The question is, shall the vote by which the substitute was agreed to be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to refresh the body's memory so that everyone can vote correctly, what this bill does, this has to do with the training course. The House added language to improve the bill, and it says that the fund will be paid out on a first-come, first-served basis so that when the funds are depleted, we don't have to pay more than we have in the fund. So I would ask that the body please accept the House substitute. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 15.
Ayes 25, noes 15. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 1554.
Mr. President.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can House Bill 1554 go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 1554 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1853, a bill relating to victims of domestic violence, etc., firearm safety or training course. Committee substitute has been adopted by the Senate, and we have 12 floor amendments.
The senator from Rockingham.
No, it's Wexton.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass.
Senator, we're going to deal with the amendment, so I'm going to...
I was not going to miss the opportunity.
Yeah. Just seeing if you were paying attention. The junior senator from Loudoun, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we waive reading of the floor amendments.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have the reading of the floor amendments are waived.
Mr. President,
the senator...
Can I ask this go by temporarily?
Without objection, House Bill 1853 will go by temporarily.
House Bill 2390, a bill relating to pilot programs for third-party power purchase agreements, institutions of higher education, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speaking that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, last year we set up a pilot program where universities can set up solar power projects within the universities and contract directly with the power service provider in the Dominion service territory. What House Bill 2390 does is allow one project to occur for a nonprofit, private institution of higher learning for the same type of an agreement for limited to and scale to no more than 7 megawatts of power. With that explanation, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question
Mr.
is...
President, this will go by temporarily.
Without objection, House Bill 2390 will go by temporarily.
Sure, Bill. House Bill 1392, a bill relating to school security officers carrying a firearm in performance of duties. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move this is 1392?
Yes, sir.
Still on the 12 floor amendments, Mr. President. I'm having trouble moving on. But, Mr. President, I would ask to reject the court substitute.
Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move that the the finance substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking briefly of the bill, this bill deals with school security officers. This bill that we saw last year, which has been modified dramatically to give local school boards a lot more control over whether they even want this, and it gives them discretion, the local law enforcement discretion over who is going to appropriately be allowed to serve in this capacity as school security officers. So with that explanation, Mr. President, I would ask that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1392 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 16.
Ayes 24, noes 16. The bill passes.
House Bill 1399, a bill relating to appointments to the State Board of Elections and local electoral boards, proportion of political party representation. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could House Bill 1399 please go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1399 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1409, a bill relating to technical adjustments of House of Delegates and Senate districts. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections, and there is a floor amendment.
The senator from Alexandria, Senator Evans.
Mr. President.
The senator from
Could
Fauquier.
Senate Bill 1409 also go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1409 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1428, a bill relating to absentee voting, photo identification required with application. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1428 is not going to go by for the day. I'd like to ask that the bill pass, and speaking to that measure.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1428 is a bill that requires voters who are applying for an absentee ballot and submitting their application by mail or fax or electronic means. They also need to submit a copy of their photo ID with the application. Military and overseas voters and persons with disabilities are exempted from the requirement. It was reported by the committee 8-6, and it passed the House 61-35. The bill is almost identical to Senate Bill 872, which was passed by the Senate 21-19. That bill was different in that it did not include the exemption for military and overseas voters and persons with disabilities, but I think they've since been conformed.
Thank you,
so anyway, I would ask that the bill pass, and that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1428 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1431, a bill relating to voter registration drives, compensation prohibitions. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of House Bill 1431 and speaking to that measure.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a bill that prohibits third-party registration groups from compensating their volunteers and employees on a per-application basis. It also prohibits those volunteers and employees from accepting I misspoke. It means that you can compensate them for the fact that they're actually doing a drive, but you can't do it on a per application basis. So, sorry. And it passed 8-6, the committee, and I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1431 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1566, a bill relating to professions and occupations, active supervision of regulatory boards, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments from rules be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have the committee amendments from rules are agreed to. The senator from Hanover.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments from finance be agreed to, which is the clause.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment from finance be approved? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The senator from Hanover.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the Rules Committee limited this in scope to looking at 3 professional occupations to be evaluated each year, and the Finance Committee put on the clause because there was thought that it could require additional staff individuals to go through this process to make sure that the regulatory boards are actually doing what we thought they should be doing.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1566 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1598, a bill relating to voter registration, proof of citizenship required to register to vote in certain elections, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
That is a bye for the day. I'm sorry, Mr. President. There's been a request that House Bill 1598 please go by for the day.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 1598 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1696, a bill relating to filling vacancies in the United States Senate, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that House Bill 1696 pass, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill changes the authority from the governor to make temporary appointments to fill a vacancy in one of our U.S. Senate seats, and it removes the language then that requires a special election to fill the vacancy to be held at the next November general election, and instead calls for that special writ to be issued immediately and then calls for a special election. So effectively it switches it from a governor then to an immediate special election, and I move that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1696 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 20.
Ayes 20, noes 20. The chair votes no. The bill does not pass.
House Bill 1697, a bill relating to extension of certain local approvals, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendments.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the local government committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. The senator from Franklin County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 1697 pass, and speaking to that measure.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. We had passed a law a while ago relating to the housing crisis, which would have extended various language and approvals that are allowed for land use. And we had a sunset clause on that that would have ended this year in July 1st, 2017. The original bill had that sunset extended to the year 2020, and the local government committee, upon review, extended that instead of 3 years as requested to 2 years as requested. So now the sunset clause ends in the year 2019.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1697 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. The senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The bill passes.
House Bill 1992, a bill relating to lien priority, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 1992 pass, and speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 1992 is a bill that actually inserts now real estate in several sections of the code related to the priority of tax liens, so that the operative language now reads that on a parity with other liens for unpaid local real estate taxes. That way, in terms where unpaid local real estate taxes happen and a lien is put on that property, that it is a priority lien now. And for those reasons, I renew my motion for passage.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1992 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Other senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 2055, a bill relating to Rural Coastal Virginia Community Enhancement Authority, reported from the Committee on Local Government, and there are 2 floor amendments.
The senator from Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry, 5.
Senator Stewart.
I move waive reading of the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendments are waived. The senator from Stafford.
And, Mr. President, actually there are 5 floor amendments, and I'd ask they be taken up in a block.
That will be fine, Senator. You had the floor.
Mr. President, this creates what they call the Rural Coastal Virginia Community Enhancement Authority, and it was a bill to mandate that a bunch of jurisdictions come together for certain purposes. It affects one of the jurisdictions I represent, some of the jurisdictions that the senator from Accomack represents, the senator from James City, and the senator from Hanover. I've spoken with. I move the amendments be adopted. She's looking at me like I was doing something. Hold my mic. You can't hear me. I'm sorry. What this does is it makes it clear that these jurisdictions may participate, but they will not be forced to participate.
Thank you.
With that, I'd move the amendments be adopted.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendments are agreed to. The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 2055 pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, if you could actually hear what the senator from Stafford was saying while he was mumbling through his amendments, you'd understand what this bill is. So I don't know that I need to, except for those like myself that's a little hard of hearing, to tell you. But basically it creates a Rural Coastal Virginia Community Enhancement Authority for those areas that the senator from Stafford talked about. It's governed by a 15-member board, seeks and approves loans, solicits donations, grants, and other funding from the Commonwealth, the federal government, and private entities to carry out its purpose in assisting the region in obtaining necessary job training, employment-related education, leadership, and civic development, and and fund demonstration projects for the area, conduct research, do evaluations and assessment of the coastal region's assets and needs. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I now renew my motion that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2055 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The bill passes.
House Bill 2092, a bill relating to application for public assistance review of records, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
The senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves. That's your bill?
Hanger.
Oh, I'm sorry. The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, House Bill 2092, the reason it came to finance was because of financial implications, and we put the clause on it, but what it will require is additional reviews for other sources of income from DMAS to include lottery and other earnings that checked, and it does have the clause on it, and I move that it be passed.
Thank you, Senator.
I believe we need to adopt the amendments.
No, sir, we're good.
No.
Yes,
We're
we
good?
do. You're exactly right. So you adopt the amendment.
Okay. Mr. President, I move that we adopt the amendment, please.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have. The amendment is agreed to. The senator from Augusta.
Thank you. I just explained the bill, and I move it pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2092 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. The bill passes.
House Bill 2168, a bill relating to the Virginia Coal Train Heritage Authority, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendment.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that we agree to the committee amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have. The amendment is agreed to. The senator from Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 2168 be agreed to. And speaking to that motion,
the senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is the establishment of the Virginia Coal Train Heritage Authority. The Coal Train Heritage Authority gives rights and powers to a 25-member board, which consists of various representative citizen members in that area. It allows the authority to cooperate with any private government entity in the state of West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Carolina, and basically in the development of a tourist train, and exempts any train operator that's in that from negligence. That's the immunity clause in there. We amended that to also say that anything like that would be posted, so that those that got on the coal train would know that there might be an issue with regard to immunity if they were injured. So now, for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that House Bill 2168 about the coal train pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. President.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, this is not about a TV dance show. It's actually about a train. And actually, I have no problem with the concept of a train or promoting coal heritage at all. I think that's a great idea. The problem I got is that we keep giving out immunity like chiclets in this place. And this, just think about this for a second, okay, folks? We are giving immunity to a train. You know, when I was in law school, we read case after case after case after case about all the damage that trains caused. I mean, back then they used to belch coal and sparks flew out and then everything caught on fire and they'd run over things and kill animals and people. And they're a little safer today, but we're talking about a train. And you got to remember, I mean, I know we're putting a sign on the things that when the people get on, they know that the train's got immunity unless it intentionally hurts somebody or is grossly negligent. But trains can also hit people that aren't on it. They can also cause damage to things that aren't on the train. There's people that walk along train tracks and get hit. There's cars that get hit. And I just, We got to quit giving out immunity. We're giving out immunity to everybody for anything, and the only people we're helping is insurance companies. It's not helping the coal train. It's not helping the people we give the immunity to. It's helping insurance companies. That's the only people we're rewarding here, and that's the only reason I'm opposing it. I think we need to just really think carefully about how often we're giving out immunity. It seems like every session we give it out like 10 times, and we need to stop.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just speaking to the measure just briefly and answering what my good friend, the senator from Fairfax, said, look, don't blame the train. And on top of that, I want everyone in this body to know that this train moves so slowly that the senator from Grayson says that he could get out of the way if it was moving from it, okay? So the chances of liability under those scenarios, understanding that could happen, are very slight. So for those reasons, I renew my motion to make House Bill 2168, the Virginia coal train, pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman from Franklin yield for a county for a question?
Would the senator yield?
I'll yield for a county and a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just wondering, is this train bound for glory?
The senator from Franklin.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
I was saying, is this train bound for glory?
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman, any train that is bound and operating in Southwest Virginia is not only bound for glory, it's in the midst of glory.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2168 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 7.
Ayes 33, noes 7. The bill passes.
House Bill 2207, a bill relating to food stamp program, excessive request for replacement of electronic benefit transfer card. Reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
The senator from Augusta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment pass and speak to that. Mr. President, the committee amendment simply adds the financial contingency clause to this bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The senator from Augusta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill passed and speak to that, please.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill would add an additional screening requirement for requests for additional electronic benefit cards for food stamps. Currently, there seems to be a problem with excessive requests for lost cards, so this would trigger a follow-up investigation if more than 4 requests were made within a calendar year. Hope the bill will pass. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2207,
Mr. President,
the senator from Prince William County.
Speaking against the measure.
The senator has the floor.
We know, if you look at the fiscal impact statement of this, we had considerable discussion in committee. And essentially, out of the 180 cases that come up annually, they end up finding that there are 2 issues a month. This is spending several $100,000 to chase down a couple thousand. This is sort of really searching for a problem here and spending a lot of money to do it. I just advise the body that this is really taking a sledgehammer to a peanut. I mean, this is small peanuts in the whole scheme of things, while certainly providing efforts to make sure there is reduced waste. This is complete overkill, and I'd suggest a waste of taxpayer dollars. Although good intended, I just respectfully say to the body that there are some wiser places to spend several $100,000. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I rise to reiterate what the senator from Augusta said. This is not spending any money. The contingent finance clause has been put on that, and the bill will not go into effect unless there's an appropriation, and there is no appropriation.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Alexander, Senator Eben.
Would the senator from Augusta yield the floor for a question?
Would the senator from Augusta yield?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd be pleased to yield.
He yields, Senator.
I would just ask the senator, is there anything stopping the department from letting folks know that they've been asked for excessive requests right now?
The senator from Augusta.
Mr. President, could you repeat that question? I did not hear it.
I would ask the senator if there's anything stopping the department from notifying a recipient that they've requested several or an excessive amount of replacement cards?
The senator from Augusta.
Mr. President, I would say to the senator from Alexandria that there's nothing to stop them from doing that. It's a matter of resources. Currently, there is some, as was pointed out by the gentleman who spoke to the issue earlier, there is some problem associated with this where there are excessive requests. What was anticipated with this bill was a general fund cost of approximately $121,000 because it was thought that they would need additional staffing to follow up on this and then investigate for fraud if, in fact, there were these additional requests. I would also say to the senator from Alexandria that we do not have any money currently in the budget for this request.
Thank you, Senator.
One final question, sir.
Would the senator yield for an additional question?
Be pleased to yield.
He yields, Senator.
So if it won't cost anything and there's no money in the budget, is this bill do anything or serve any purpose?
The senator from Augusta.
Mr. President, I would say to the senator from Alexandria, when we put the clause on there, the House does have $120,000 in their budget. So it will be on the table for discussion during conference, but it would have to reach a fairly high threshold given scarce resources for us to actually include the $126,000 that we've determined would be necessary to put this into effect.
Speaking briefly to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
I'd like to associate my remarks with the senator from Prince William and take the $120,000 off the table so we can spend it on more things that we'll get a better return on. So ask folks to vote no.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the measure.
The senator has the floor.
I would ask the ladies and gentlemen of the Senate to defeat the measure for several reasons. When we heard this at committee, there are a couple of points I think you should all know. Once an individual loses the benefit card, the benefits stop immediately. So it's not like an individual is continuing to get benefits. So that's important. And the other thing you might want to note is some portion of the population that receives food stamp benefits has a number of behavioral health issues, and these folks sometimes just lose things rather regularly. And, the department spokesperson said that happens, and they're, accustomed to that. But since the benefits stop, the need to have this policy is not really it doesn't really do anything. So for those reasons, I would ask that we not pass the measure.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2207 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 19.
Ayes 20, noes 19. The bill passes. The senator from Fairfax County, did you want to reconsider a bill?
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed 2092 on page 38, I would move that we reconsider the vote by which it passed.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2092 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from James City County.
Mr. President, I ask that bill be passed by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 2092 will go by for the day.
House Bill 2343, a bill relating to voter registration list maintenance, voters identified as having duplicate registrations. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 2343 pass, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The bill requires that the Department of Elections provide the general registrars the list of registered voters who've been found through list comparisons and data matching exchanges to be registered in another state. These are the ones that you all know more commonly as the ERIC and interstate cross-check lists. The bill, it's important for you to know, doesn't require the general registrars to take any action in response to the information that they receive, but these are in response related to registrars who've supported the bill and want the information so that they can simply do more regular list maintenance. And so with that, I ask that you pass the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2343 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 15.
Ayes 23, noes 15. The bill passes.
House Bill 2351, a bill relating to unoccupied property grass cutting, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 2351 pass. And speaking to that motion, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, House Bill 2351 pertains to unoccupied property in Buchanan County. In Buchanan County, there are some areas where when there's property that's unoccupied, the grass may grow really tall. So this would allow Buchanan County by local ordinance to either have that and require that owner to cut the grass, or if the owner didn't, to cut the grass by use of the government and then charge the owner of that. But more importantly, Mr. President, it's not what I think about this bill. It's what Madam Clerk's puppy thinks about this bill. Does he like the bill? Mr. President, Madam Clerk's puppy loves this bill. Keeps the grass short, right? Keeps grass short. Makes it easier to do his business. And Mr. President, Mr. President, may I remind you that this puppy right here, its breed is a Shar-Pei. Get it? Shar-Pei? No? Not yet? Too soon? So for those reasons, Mr. President, both myself and this Shar-Pei move for the passage of House Bill 2351.
And your puppy's name is?
Senator Carrico.
The question is, shall House Bill 2351 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 13.
Ayes 25, noes 13. The bill does not pass.
Mr. President, I apologize. Having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed that Shar-Pei grass cutting bill, could that bill please be reconsidered?
We didn't pass it, Senator. It needs 27 votes to pass. So.
Shoot. Okay. Never mind. Thank you, Mr.
President.
The senator from Franklin County.
Having voted on the prevailing side on by which HB 2351 did not pass, I now move for its reconsideration.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2351 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Franklin County.
Now, Mr. President, so that this dog may have another day, I now move that HB 2351 be passed by for the day. I know it's rough. It's rough. Very rough.
Without objection, House Bill 2351 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. After that amusement, I would respectfully move that all of the House bills on the second reading on the uncontested and regular calendar, including all bills on pages 40 through 36, including House Bill 1401 through House Bill 2477, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Senator, the question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 40 through 66, House Bill 1401 through House Bill 2477, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I now ask that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, House Joint Resolution on third reading. House Joint Resolution 562, proposing an amendment to Section 6-A of Article 10 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to real property tax exemption. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Bogle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the motion?
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was a resolution that came to us and having to do with property tax exemption for a surviving spouse, and it passed unanimously, and I would so move.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall HJR 562 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The resolution is agreed to.
Regular calendar, House Joint Resolutions on third reading. House Joint Resolution 545, proposing an amendment to Section 14 of Article 4 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to powers of the General Assembly, suspension or nullification of administrative rule or regulation. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Bogle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask that that please go by for the day.
Without objection, H.R. 545 will go by for the day.
House Joint Resolution 693, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Virginia by adding in Article 10 a section numbered 7-B relating to special funds for transportation purposes. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendments.
The senator from Fauquier County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I regrettably have to ask that this also go by for the day.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, H.R. 693 will go by for the day. If we could return to page 33 of the calendar. House Bill 1853. The junior senator from Loudoun, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe we previously...
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, simply to expedite this, could I ask that these be taken up in two blocks with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 in one, and the other pages, the odd-numbered pages, in a different block?
The junior senator from Loudoun.
Mr. President, I would prefer that they be taken up in one block, and so I would object to that motion.
That would be fine, Senator. You take them up in block.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, Mr. President, members of the Senate, you all may recall that when this bill came through the first time, I really didn't care for it. I got up and I said some stuff, and it was kind of disturbing to me because it's really not my nature to be a negative Nelly. I didn't come down here to just pop up and say bad things about bills and be the voice of gloom and doom. So in the continuing effort to find consensus and to, get to yes, I thought there's got to be a way to make this bill better, because clearly the majority is very well-intentioned and really thinks that this is going to help protect victims in these protective order situations. Now, don't let the volume of amendments scare you. It's just the same thing two different times, as has been noted by the senator from Rockingham. The odd-numbered amendments, I'll take those up first in this discussion. Now, clearly, the majority's preferred way for victims of domestic violence or for victims of violence to protect themselves is to arm themselves. Now, unfortunately, not everybody's going to do that. So I think it's important that we give them some other options. So what those amendments would do is provide that in that same section of the protective order where the court tells victims about firearm safety courses that may be available, they will also provide them with other local resources, things like contact information for any sexual and domestic violence victim service provider, victim witness program, legal aid, crisis intervention hotlines, individual support services, emergency companion services, emergency housing, transportation, things of that nature. Second, the even-numbered amendments. I really had some trouble with how best to phrase this, but thankfully our friends in Florida gave me some guidance through their Stand Your Ground law. And as I looked into the various statistics and you know, the issues surrounding domestic violence, firearms in these households and what was actually going on, I was kind of concerned. Because I think it's important that if we're going to make the policy decision, which this is, that the best way for these victims to defend themselves is by arming themselves, then we need to protect them throughout the entire process. We need to take this preferred method through to its logical conclusion. That is, that these women are actually, or not just women, but victims are actually going to use these firearms. And I was kind of concerned by this because 1/3 of women murdered in the U.S. are killed by a former or current male intimate partner. I was kind of concerned because 93% of women in California prisons had, for killing men, had previously been battered by those very same men. Now, men are dead, the women are in prison. I know that's not what we intended to have happen. And the women typically receive much harsher penalties for killing their male partners. The average prison sentence for a man who kills his female partner is between 2 and 6 years, while the average sentence for a woman who kills her male partner is 15 years. That's exactly what Rosangela Spradling got, coincidentally. So I came up with the language from that appears in the even-numbered amendments. That is, basically, notwithstanding any other provision of law, when these victims do use firearms and cause injury to the respondent in the protective order, they will be immune. We presumed legally that they acted in self-defense, and they'll be immune from prosecution or from civil action. I think that would make sure that we, very sincerely here in the General Assembly, protect these victims from the very beginning of the process all the way through to the end. And I would ask that this body agree to the amendments in a block.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, speaking to the amendments, first of all, I'm going to ask that when we vote on this, that we not vote on them in a block. I will ask that they be voted on either in 2 blocks or individually. Mr. President, just speaking to these amendments, the gentlelady from Loudoun said that the odd-numbered, or referred to the odd-numbered amendments and the even-numbered amendments. And I'll tell you, the odd-numbered amendments aren't the odd ones. They actually make a decent bit of sense. The even ones are odd. They're frankly crazy. And nobody in their right mind would agree to these, particularly in a block. Let me tell you what they do. They provide that when somebody goes in, man or woman, and gets a preliminary protective order, for example, let me tell you how you get that. You fill out a form that is provided by the court, and you say why you think you're entitled to a preliminary protective order. And you get it very often ex parte. And what that means is judge looks at that piece of paper and says, wow, holy smokes, if that's true, you really deserve a protective order without regard to whether it's true or not. So take somebody who goes in, lies on that, and gets a protective order. They can walk right back to their house and shoot their spouse. And they're immune from prosecution without any hearing, without any examination of the truthfulness or falsity of those charges. Second of all, You look at the amendments, the odd, even-numbered amendments, and there are, it makes no sense even if you try to apply it. As first, in the first clause, it says that there's a presumption that the killing or maiming was in self-defense. In some situations, that may not be a bad idea, especially if there's been a trial on it and a permanent protective order has been issued. But then it goes on and says, in addition to that, there's absolute immunity from criminal prosecution, from arrest, or anything else. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You can't have a presumption. What good is a presumption when there's no trial? It is just frankly nonsensical. And I think that we certainly want to provide protections to victims of domestic violence. I get what the gentlelady from Loudoun is trying to do. This is a message. This is trying to see whether we're serious about protecting people with protective orders, and we are. But we're not crazy about it. This is crazy, and it doesn't work. It's not drafted to the. It's not drafted consistently with our process. The gentlelady has in her odd-numbered provisions probably a pretty good idea, pointing people to resources that are going to provide help to victims of domestic violence. I want to do it. I don't know why the gentlelady objects to voting on these separately, because I think that the good ideas on the odd-numbered pages probably have the potential to improve this good bill. The second just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So, Mr. President, as we go through these one by one, since we're not going to vote on these in two blocks, I would ask the members to vote for the good-sensed odd-numbered pages and vote against the odd, even-numbered pages.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, it seems to me that, all I hear, all the years I've been here is women and children, women and children, women and children, and that we ought to protect them. And while based on the statistics that the gentlelady from Loudoun County gave, obviously it happens, but it's a rarity. I can't remember the last time I picked up a Washington Post and read where in one of these domestic disputes, protective order situations, I can't remember the last time the woman killed the man. Does it happen? Obviously. But I cannot remember the last time I picked up a Washington Post, and it's 2 to 3 times a month, where somewhere in the Washington area, a husband or a boyfriend who a protective order had been obtained against has killed the woman. Never read about it the other way. And my wife gets upset with me at times, but I'm willing to take my chances, okay? And I would hope that if we are serious, about, putting women on equal footing in this situation, we ought to vote for both of these amendments, both on the odd and even numbered pages. And quite frankly, that's what I intend to do. And it seems to me that we ought to put our money where our mouth has been for all these years.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking against the amendments, I would hope that the body would not undermine the underlying intent of the bill, and that was to create an opportunity for people to protect themselves and to level the playing field. And it is the case, as the gentleman from Fairfax said, that it is not often, it is very rare that you hear about or read about a female victim using the weapon. But it is very, very, very much the case that providing a victim of domestic violence an opportunity to level that playing field and to protect herself in that very narrow window of time when she is the most vulnerable, most likely to be killed or strangled or maimed or stabbed or otherwise abused, when she lacks any other recourse. And these are people who are often victimized day in and day out, and who are prisoners in their own home or prisoners in their life and watched everywhere they go, or abused constantly without any freedom and without any opportunity to obtain any kind of a weapon to protect themselves. And so if they have the opportunity in the course of the one chance they have, perhaps to obtain a protective order, if they're given that opportunity and by virtue of that protective order have the chance to concealed carry rather than open carry, just in that narrow window, and that saves their life, it's worth their life. And I would just urge the members of the body to think about it that way. And for those of you who've had the chance to share the life experience of somebody who's either had a family member lose their life or who's been tortured every single day and comes so close to being killed, and who would have, but for the opportunity to have had the abuser know that I have the means to protect myself. That abuser, many of these people are horrible cowards. They're cowards, but they torture people every day. And I had a close friend who was abused every day for 26 years, and she said, had he known that I had the ability to protect myself, he would have stayed away. But she didn't, because she was tortured and watched and abused and rarely out of his control. And so I would urge the members of the body to think about it that way. Think about the chance to level the playing field. And think about the chance that lawful gun owners can already open carry. And for many women who have young children, they're not excited about open carrying. They would like to have the chance to slip it in their purse or keep it in a place where it's not obvious, where they feel like it's really, really inflammatory to be walking around with it out in the open. That's just common sense. And so I would just urge the members of the body to think about this in the way that victims think about it and what it means to a victim, and that it can actually save their life. And so I would ask the members of the body to please reject the amendments and pass the bill in its original form. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Saslaw.
You know, Mr. President, the example that she gave with a friend for 26 years is actually the reason that you need this bill. But let me tell you all this. The ones on the even numbered pages, you put that on the books, I will guarantee you, no husband or boyfriend is ever going to lay his hands on a woman again. That word will get out that the second he does, he better start running and hiding, because she's going to nail him in return. And quite frankly, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Thank you, Senator. The junior senator from Loudoun, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just, I guess, closing on this, if I may. I appreciate the impassioned remarks of the senator from Fauquier, but I think she's maybe referring to a different bill, which is the concealed carry bill. This is the one having to do with the notifications that are provided by the court to petitioners in protective order cases. Mr. President, over and over again, we hear in this body how this is the most vulnerable time for a victim in this kind of case. And they are presumed to be in fear of bodily injury. But the problem that we find is that when men kill their partners, they get a slap on the wrist. When women kill men, their partners, they go to the penitentiary, and that needs to stop.
Thank you, Senators. I'm going to take a quick recess. If Senator Wexton and Senator Obenshain could come to the dais. The Senate will come to order. The senator from Stafford, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, speaking briefly to the amendment.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I just want to point out one thing. This is a serious bill. It's a serious issue. I dealt with this a lot when I was Commonwealth's attorney, and it concerns me that it may be treated a little bit lightly on the floor and perhaps even, I don't know, it bothers me. And I do want to point out to the senior senator from Fairfax City that while he's right, it would give protections to a woman who shot his husband if she was being abused. It would also allow a husband to go get a protective order, lie to the judge, get a protective order, come back home, kill his wife, and be immune from prosecution. So for that reason, I hope we'll reject those amendments and let's support the amendments on the odd number pages because they make sense.
Thank you, Senator. We have 12 floor amendments. It has been agreed upon that we will take it in 2 blocks. So the first motion I will make is for the odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. So that's what we're going to vote on. All of those in agreement to the odd number floor amendments will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. The next motion is, shall the even-numbered amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. The even number amendments are not agreed to.
2. How many 2?
No.
6 or fewer.
No.
All right, you got it over there.
8 hands.
Being at least 8 hands, there'll be a recorded vote. The motion on the floor, all in favor of the even number amendments will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 7, noes 32.
Ayes 7, noes 32. The even number amendments are rejected. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, having been adequately explained, I do believe.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1853 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The bill passes. House Bill 2390. The senior senator, are you prepared to?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having previously been explained, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2390 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 14.
Ayes 25, noes 14. The bill passes. If we could return to page 9 of the calendar. Senate Bill 1561. Are you prepared, Senator, to make a motion?
Yes, I am. And I move that the bill pass.
It's just if we could concur with the House substitute.
I'm sorry, yes. Move the House substitute. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. You could just give us a...
Sure. The substitute, this is the bill on the ED care coordination where we're basically just, in the first year, are making it possible for all Medicaid patients to be connected with primary care and make sure that we know what other services they've previously seen. And the amendments just conform the bills in the House and the Senate. Just wanted to make sure we had some follow-up language, but it's in the budget amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 0.
Ayes 37, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, inquire the clerk. Does that complete today's calendar?
Mr. President?
Sir.
The senator from Alexander, Senator Evan.
I rise for a motion on page 33, having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed HB 2390. Can that be reconsidered? Page 33.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President, on page 8.
Senator, let me deal with this one first, and we'll come back. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 2390 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having previously been explained, once again, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 2390 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 15.
Ayes 24, noes 15. The bill passes. The senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, on page 8, Senate Bill 1415, I ask that we reconsider our vote when we rejected the House amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the House substitute was rejected be... be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Northern Chesapeake.
Thank you, Mr. President. Because of a misunderstanding, I'm asking the Senate to accept the amendment from the House.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, inquire the clerk. Does that complete today's calendar?
I think so.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If we could return to the morning hour, the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Rise for an introduction and a request.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, in the gallery today we have two visitors, Hyun Lee from Centerville and Bob Nash from Little Rock, Arkansas, who have come to visit us today, and I ask that we give them a warm greeting in the Senate.
I will. Thank you, Senator. Would Mr. Bob Nash and Hyun Lee please rise? Thank you all so much for visiting us this morning. I enjoyed meeting with you earlier today, and I'm glad you made the trip from Arkansas, and hope you've had a good visit, and hope you saw a little bit of how we make policy here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Ms. Hyun Lee and Mr. Bob Nash the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Fairfax City.
Thank you, Mr. President. On a more melancholy note, I rise to make a request. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I served in the House of Delegates with Michelle McQuigg, the gentlelady from Prince William. She was a longtime county supervisor there. She was then in the House of Delegates from 1998 to 2007, and then was elected to the clerk of the circuit court, where she served with distinction. She died unexpectedly, I might add, yesterday. She was 62 years old and married, had 2 children, and I believe 5 grandchildren. So I ask that we adjourn today in her memory.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. An announcement?
Yes, the senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that many of you have had to make a move when you move your house, and when you make that move, you find out just how much junk you've acquired. And oftentimes when you collect all that junk, you tend to put it out in your driveway and have a yard sale hoping somebody will buy that junk. Otherwise, you don't want to move it. And Mr. President, I know you know we are all packing our boxes right now and getting ready to move to our new abodes down the hill here. But in the process, if you're like me, you end up with a lot of junk that you don't want moved and don't know what to do with. Well, Mr. President, I'm pleased to tell you that the Pages do know what to do with it. The Pages are going to host a yard sale on behalf of the food bank here in Richmond. The yard sale will occur from 1 to 4 p.m. in 3 East conference room. In the meantime, if you have stuff that you don't want moved and stuff that might have value to somebody, I'd ask that you just leave it outside your door, contact the Page room, and the Pages will come pick it up and get it all ready, cleaned up, ready to go for a yard sale on Wednesday from 1 to 4 in 3 East. And so I would hope everybody would take a look at what you got. There might be something of value there that, you know, an old tube of toothpaste that the dental technicians gave you or something that somebody might buy. Or 8 rolls of dental floss like I have in my desk drawer, Mr. President, and put it on out there. I'm sure it'll be some good, and I guess in the end, whatever's left over will go to the Goodwill or wherever. But I hope everybody can participate. It's a kind of a unique fundraising event for the food bank. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Mr. President, 2 quick announcements. Number one, the Courts Committee will meet at my desk immediately upon adjournment. We have a little matter of 7 bills that we need to take some action on. And second announcement is at noon, there are judicial interviews. If we have a quorum present, we may be able to certify those judicial candidates today. Otherwise, we're going to have to meet on Monday to certify judicial candidates. If we could muster a quorum today, I think it would make Tara's life a little bit easier over the next couple of days.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Mr. President, I rise for a brief announcement.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, it has just come to my attention that we do have one piece of unfinished business within the local government committee, so I'm going to ask the clerk and, of course, everybody if we can meet on Monday, and we'll decide the schedule. We'll try to do it in a regular committee room. It's just one bill. We'll do it real quick, but just everybody on your toes. You're going to be working, if you're on local government, very briefly on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, rise for announcement, sir.
The senator has the floor.
Upon adjournment, if all of the Senate budget conferees would be so kind to come to the 10th floor, that would be very nice, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The clerk will please report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Friday, February the 17th, the Courts of Justice Committee will meet immediately upon adjournment at the chair's desk. The Joint Senate Committee for Courts of Justice and House Committee for Courts of Justice Judicial Panel will meet immediately upon adjournment of the House and Senate in House Room C for judicial interviews. Monday, February the 20th, at some point, at some place, on Monday morning, local government will meet. And this afternoon, also immediately upon adjournment, if the budget conferees will assemble on the 10th floor of the GAB. Courts of Justice will not meet Monday morning. The Republican caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 2, and the Democratic caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 1. The weather report for the weekend, Saturday will bring rain showers to the southwest portion of the Commonwealth. On Sunday, there's a slight chance of rain in the early hours with the temperatures throughout the day in the mid-60s. And for those of you who were not able to attend the mock session last night, our pages did an absolutely magnificent job, and you would be very proud of them.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 11 a.m. on Monday. And when we do so in loving memory of Michelle McQuigg, former delegate and our friend.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 11 o'clock on Monday, and that when we do it in memory of Miss Michelle McQuigg. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 11 a.m. on Monday.